Hello, I'm John, and before we start today, I just wanted to say thank you very much to our new patrons Regina Schaller, Sheila Rodden Gentle, John Lawrence, Margaret Hannah, Karen Olmsted, and Helen Steele. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. So, today on this patron special event, Shopkeep Arty are zooming live to England, where we'll be joining professional watercolour artist Jane Betteridge for a colourful ink and watercolour study of Bindweed, or Morning Glory as you might call it. So join me as I press the other little button behind me and we fly there now. So these special shows are designed to give you a boost of creative inspiration with leading artists from around the world. If you want to find out more about Jane or see reference photos or the recommended materials required to paint along, simply visit our website. I think I can see Jane there now. Yes, she's waving up at us. Hello, Jane.
Hello, everyone. Hi, John.
Yeah, how are you? It's been almost 3 months since we
I
hosted
know.
you last.
Hasn't it gone
How's your
so?
granddaughter coming along? Is she
Yeah,
growing up fast?
she's really coming on and making us laugh every day.
Oh, that's
She's a
really
joy. Yeah.
That's really nice to hear.
I can't
And
believe how quickly 3 months has gone now.
I know, isn't it incredible? And
Yeah.
can you believe that this is actually our 24th show together?
Oh,
I
no.
know. I know. If we did one a month, that'd be 2 years, wouldn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Well, I
just shows you.
can't wait to get started today. But before I do, a quick 30-second word on how these special patron shows work. So first of all, we'll walk through the preparation, and this might include sketching, talking theory, or applying the first layers of paint. Then, while that dries, we'll take the opportunity to see some examples of Jane's previous works of art for inspiration, as well as discuss her upcoming 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar, which is happening in 2 weeks' time, I think. And then finally, we'll complete the tutorial, after which you can share what you've done at home on our Facebook or Instagram page for feedback and comments. So without further ado, let's get back to Jane and we'll make a start. So Jane, why did you pick this as the
Um,
object of your painting today?
well, I love painting soft flowers, and I know this is a weed. It's bindweed or morning glory. It's got several names, I think. And I love painting white flowers. And for instance, calla lilies, they're kind of cylindrical and really solid.
Mm.
I prefer softer flowers like a bindweed or a rose or a daisy, where the petals actually bend and catch the light and pick up the colours from their surroundings. And what bindweed is so easy to paint as well, but you can make it so effective. And any white flowers, you can really show them off by the background you do, because you can make the background really dark to bring that white flower forward and show it off at its best. If you paint, say, a yellow or a red flower or mauve, it's not so easy to really make it spring forward because it's mid-tone. This is the lightest tone being white. And if you did a really dark flower, like a really deep purple tulip or something, then you can go to town with the background by leaving it lighter, a lot lighter. And so vice versa with a white flower. But, like mid-tone flowers, I find more difficult to really make them jump out of the paper. So bindweed, I've been painting it for years and years, and it's such an easy flower to paint. But you can make it look so good. So that's one of the reasons, and it's so easy,
Brilliant.
for everyone, whatever stage you're at in your artistic career, whether you're just starting out or if you're really experienced. It's really easy for everyone.
Brilliant. So how should people start with this today?
Well, you've got a reference photograph, and this is a photo I took in my garden, and all we need to draw is the outline of the flower and just that little bit inside where we need to show that it goes into the center and there's some little stamens coming out. Now, those stamens, you know, are white, so a lot of people would mask those out, and you can do that if you want to, but I never do. I always use white ink because it's less, it's more natural if you paint it in than mask it out, because it leaves an artificial edge. So all we need to do for a start is a simple drawing of this one flower head, and bear in mind where you're putting it on the paper. I mean, this, what I want to say is, this is your painting. You can do it how you like. You know, I'll show you how I'm doing mine, but you might want to put your flower down there, say, or up there. You know, as long as it's not smack in the middle, you can put it where you like. So we could do two, you know, it's up to you. So I'm sticking with what has been advertised, and I'm just gently, I've gently drawn it out, but to make you see it, to enable you to see it, I'm just going to darken the lines so you can see how I've done it.
Now, Karen's said that she's taken your advice and she's made a caddy book of colour patches and ideas.
Yeah.
So, and she's having lots of fun. So thank you for giving her that tip.
Yeah, it's really handy. You know, you can just flick through and think, oh, those colours are nice. You know, and you can even kind of bend the page and put it next to whatever you're painting and see what you think, you know, if the colours go. Yeah. And what, like after this session, whatever paint's left in your palette, you know, you could just swish them around on a page of one of those books I showed you, and leave reference then to this painting on the back, say. So these are the colours I use for the Bindweed painting, and they are such and such and such and such, you know. So it's always a good reference.
Yeah.
And if I try out any new colours, and if I've got nothing to do, which is very rare at the moment, you know, I play around with colours and see what combinations marry well together. So back to the drawing. You know, this is the important bit just there, but everything else, you know, I've made a note of how the stamens go, but that will be painted over. So and then if you look at the photograph, some of they've got like lines, like veins coming in. I've just done a little bit of that, but that's not important either. So, you know, we'll do that as we go along. Now, if you know, this is quite a long shape. You think of it as round, but it's quite long. So, you know, if you don't think it looks right, which I shortened mine a bit on this one, but I've done several more, and I'll show you. So I've made this like the photograph, because I presume obviously that's what you're doing. And I'll talk about the colours now and the paper. So you can be carrying on with your drawing while I discuss the paper if you like. And this paper is Caddy handmade watercolour paper. It's £300 in weight, that's 640 grams a square metre. And there's several surfaces, and this is a knot surface, even though it's rough, which sounds a bit silly. But if you were using, say, Saunders Waterford paper or a Bockingford paper, which is very common and a lot of people use, it's equivalent to their rough surface. So that's why I put down, if you haven't got Caddy handmade paper, to get a rough paper if you could. And you can get packs of this paper online, and there's 10 sheets there at size A4, and I've just torn one in half for this. It's A5, and that's about, I think it's about £15 for 10 sheets. And you can get A3, and you can buy big sheets, which I buy and cut up to what size I want. And it comes with the deckled edges as well, which is in vogue at the moment. And so you can either mount it when you finished your painting, you can mount it like that, or you can mount it on a piece of mount card and get your frame to show the deckled edges off. Some people like that. So that's why they leave it deckled edged at the moment. It's kind of in fashion. But this will work on any paper, you know, and I've got some other examples to show you. about a different paper and different colours. Now, you've got to know to the colours I'm using today, which I will go into in a little while. But if you want to change the colours, feel free. It would be quite nice, I think, John. I've not discussed this with you, but when people put their finished paintings on the Facebook page for everyone to see, it would be nice if someone went, you know, did their own thing around the flower. You know, can do what I do, obviously, or you can use your imagination a bit. And so this is one that's entirely different. This is on that, it's on an even thinner caddy paper. And I've ripped the edge there, so excuse that. But this is, you know, entirely different colours and got gold on there. And then this is the same colours, but it's on Saunders Waterford paper. It looks pretty similar to the caddy paper, but I get better effects on the caddy paper. And then this one, you know, is one that I've chosen and, you know, put a few berries on. You know, you can make a painting out of just one flower head by making the background interesting. And it's that background that I'm quite well known for, because I love working into backgrounds. I love putting backgrounds on and making my paint do unusual things, so that the main subject matter remains quite simple, else they're fighting for attention. So that's you know, just think of, if you wanted to, I'm sure you'll probably have several goes at it, and you can always try different colorways. So we'll stick to what you know, I've listed on the materials. And we've got in paint a Lunar Blue, Daniel Smith Lunar Blue, which is like a medium to dark blue, grainy grey blue, but it splits into turquoisey colour. It's a lovely colour to have. A Daniel Smith Rose of Ultramarine, which is a really vibrant pinky purpley colour. It's a lovely colour. And then I've got an olive green, and this is an SAA olive green, and that's my favourite olive green, actually. Even though it's from a cheaper brand, you know, it's really nice. And even cheaper still is this leaf green by Shin Han. I don't know if I put that down actually, but the way I paint is, it's very difficult for me to say, well, you need this, this, this and this, because when I'm painting, I don't plan it to the extent where I might say to myself, oh, actually, I'll add a bit of this or I'll add a bit of that. You know, some teachers, it's a dead step by step, exact colours, but I want you to do a background where you think to yourself, oh yeah, that's a bit dark there, what can I add? Oh, I'll add a bit of that very limey green into it, that'll lift it. You know, that's the way I work. And so it's I've always got everything on hand, shall we say. And so to make my watercolours more vibrant and more interesting, I add inks, acrylic inks. And I've got an olive green acrylic ink. These are FW De La Rowney acrylic inks. So I've got olive green and I've got indigo. I've got Purple Lake, which is, these are all similar to the colours that are on there with paint, but it just gives it that extra oomph and you get more granulation, because into the inks we add granulation medium that makes the lovely effects. So I don't think I ever paint really now just a normal watercolour without adding something. So I've got a lime green, I've got a pale pink, and we've got white. Which is very handy, and that's what we'll do the stamens with, and a little bit of spattering with as well. So whenever, you know, I teach, there's always a way round. If you haven't got the exact colour, there's always another colour that will do, because it's just a guidance, you know. Unless you want an exact replica, you needn't buy any of the paints that I write down. It can end up being an expensive session really. And you know, you can always adapt colours, you can mix colours to make other colours and stuff like that. So don't feel you've always got to buy everything that I put down. There's always a way round, and I'm always happy to answer questions about how you can get round something. So I'll mix up, I've started mixing up the paints. No questions at the moment, I take.
No, you're full of content, Jane. So
Yeah.
everyone's sapping up all the information you're giving them.
Okay, lovely. Yes, I did put leaf green down. So here's the paints. So that's the Rose of Ultramarine, olive green, leaf green, and lunar blue. Now you can see in the palette that it's darker underneath. So every time you dip your brush into lunar blue, you need to just give it a little stir, because some of the pigments separate and settle at the bottom, and that's what we like about it. And it's the same with Rose of Ultramarine, because that makes them do unusual things. And they are the Daniel Smith Primatech range, which is I think they're about the best you can get, really. So I'm going to, wet all around. I normally work wet in wet, because that's the way you get all the lovely effects to work and get the paint to mix and mingle on the paper, and add the inks and everything flows then. It's very rare that I work on dry paper. So I'm just making sure everywhere's wet all around. And I'm wetting off the edge. I want the paint to run off, not stop just there and then go back and create a watermark. And what I need to think about when I'm putting the paints on is the shadow colour I've got in the petals and in the centre of the flower. And that works best if you look at my painting with the lunar blue. So I need to make sure that that lunar blue is around some parts of the flower and not too far away, so that it wouldn't be reflected into the flower. So I'm just gently adding some of the lunar blue. Have a little bit over there. What I don't want is a blue halo all around. You want to vary the colours.
Now that's interesting for me that you've started with the darker colour rather than. Why have you done it that way round rather than going light to dark?
Yeah, with watercolour you should work from light to dark, and with oils and acrylics you work from dark to light. But I know that my leaf green will mix into that and lighten and still show up. Because everything mixes up onto the paper, it doesn't really matter. So you'll see as I go along.
Okay.
So let's have a little bit of olive green now. And I'm putting that into the blue. Can you see? I want it dark around the flower to show that flower off. And so that's gone into the blue just there. And can you see that lovely olive green? It's a really lovely shade. Quite grainy.
Eva has asked, which colour could I substitute lunar blue?
Anything ultramarine. It's a mix between ultramarine and indigo, somewhere the tone is, not the actual colour. So if you just use French ultramarine and add a touch of indigo into it to just darken it a little bit, or a bit of Payne's grey in it. So I'm going into the Rose of Ultramarine to stir that again, look, because the pigment settles at the bottom, just like the lunar blue. I'm just putting that over there. And I'll be adding inks into these. So when I started doing this painting, I just thought, I'll paint a bindweed. And it worked out really nice. And then I had to think, well, what did I do? I must remember. And so I can write it down. And that's generally our work, really. I just play around, and if it works, it works. And I'm quite experienced enough to know roughly what works, but sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just adding this leaf green now, which is really vibrant, limey, acidy green. And just add a touch there, a touch up there like that. I think I'll go back into the lunar blue and carry that on around there. And now what I'm going to do with a clean brush, just take the excess moisture off and just mop up around the edge. And I mean, looking at that now, if I was leaving it at that, I wouldn't be happy with it at all. You know, I don't like it. But when I add the inks, it makes me, the combination of the two makes me, it excites me that I think, yes, that's nice. I'm pleased with that, you know. So I'm just moving that around a little bit. And the nice way of painting like this is you can't repeat it exactly. You know, you'll never, ever repeat. No one can copy it because it's unique. You know, you couldn't replicate how you put the paint and the ink on. So all the paint's on, and now I'm going to add some ink, and I'm going to start with indigo. And I'm going into that lunar blue, and you might think, well, why don't you just use ink on its own? But it's not the same, you know, the combination of indigo ink and say lunar blue, that working as a pair is what, you know, it creates nice effects. So straight into the granulation medium and into that ink. You get the best of both worlds. You get the subtlety of the watercolor, but you get the dynamism of the inks. And you get that nice granulation effect that's happening already, look. So let's add some olive green ink now. And I'm putting it roughly the same place as the olive green paint. Granulation medium into it. Can you see there, look, we've not put any ink or anything into there. That's that rose of ultramarine. And it separates into like a different pink and a purple. I'm just going to run some of that through it. And it's very, very vibrant, the rose of ultramarine, that I don't think I'll need any of the purple lake ink, but you know, I'm not ruling it out yet.
Ingrid's asked, that granulation medium, does it also work with the watercolour alone?
Yes, that's what it's meant for. It's not meant for acrylic inks. It's actually meant for watercolours. Yeah, but it does.
There was a time when you were trying to crack the secret recipe, weren't you, Jane?
Yeah, and I found another way to do it now. Yeah, I'm still working on it, but just I'm getting there. And the second recipe I've found is a lot simpler. So
oh, that's good.
Yeah, and cheaper.
I was hosting Derek van Rensburg in Cape Town on Tuesday. He's an acrylic artist, and he always uses really common materials. So his brushes are normally painters and decorators brushes. And the thing he's found that works really well with acrylic is window cleaner.
Really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it have amazing effects with things, but obviously incredibly cheap.
What, the spray on?
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, the spray on
Oh.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
I don't use it. I've got some acrylics, and I have painted a little bit in acrylics, but I've always gone back to watercolors. You know, whatever I do. I started off in oils many years ago, and I do like oils. But okay, so I've just tidied the edge of the painting now. Just tidied up the edge, and
it's really coming to life now, isn't it?
really jumping to life. And look at the lovely effects, you know. And that's the ink. So now I'm just putting a little bit of that lunar blue to the side in that part of my palette, cleaning my brush and just adding a little bit of water to it, just to make it a bit lighter. And I'm painting inside that very centre.
Now Lenny's asked, can you use watercolor inks instead of acrylic inks?
It doesn't work the same. Yeah, I've got those, but you can use them, yes, but it won't be as good, won't be as effective, but they are very strong, vibrant colours. So I did say on the materials list about a hake, I think. Yeah, selection of watercolour brushes, including a rigger and a small hake. And this hake, which is, it shows up on the white better, is a brush like that, look, that's kind of feathered out at the end. And that's for dragging that centre paint out into the rest of the flower. Something like that. Now I still feel it needs to be darker in the very centre, so I'm just going to add some more now.
And we're probably quite close to having a pause for it to dry.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we can. I just want to do from that centre, pull out, not many, but can you see the veins in the flower?
Ingrid said, what a lovely little hake you have there. She only knows the 1-inch ones.
Oh, yeah. Well, these are SAA brushes, and you can get that size, and you can get that size. And then I've got one that size. So, yeah, it's very handy, very handy. So we can leave that, if you like, now then to dry. And then
I mean, it looks it's really coming, that the flowers really sticking out, almost 3-dimensional almost.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's that centre that's, you know, making it look like we can crawl inside it.
Yeah.
And also
if only we were a honeybee. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight in there. Great. Well, now while we leave that to dry, then this is my favourite bit of mine. We'll take a look at some of Jane's previous works of art for inspiration. So these are completed artworks, and what examples have you earmarked for us today, Jane?
Right. Well, I thought I'd try and be as varied as I could, you know.
Okay.
So this is watercolour on canvas, right? It's in my book, Dynamic Watercolours. It's on a chunky canvas. And watercolours, you know, are not usually painted onto a canvas, so you have to prepare the canvas first. But what I did with this to get some texture, this is hydrangea heads, and these are actual hydrangea petals that I dried, flattened them and dried, and stuck them on with glue, and then painted over with watercolour ground to prepare the canvas, and over that as well. And then I painted into it, but just the same way as we are doing now, with paint and ink, look, and then the granulation medium. And then I used opaque colours in watercolour to paint over the top and bring it to life. So that's quite an unusual watercolour, because it's on canvas for one thing, and because it's got real flower heads stuck on underneath the preparation material.
I remember we did a workshop some time back where was it hogweed that we did,
Yes.
where and you used the seeds and you actually stuck the seeds on and that created the three-dimensional texture.
Yeah. We've
That
stuck
was
those on at the end though.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, you can either prepare a textured canvas or paper before by sticking things on and letting it come through, the texture come through once you've put ground over the top, or you can add two at the very end, which is what we did with that one. So that's one of my favourite paintings. I really love that. It's quite
yeah.
abstract, and when you look at it close up, you can actually see the little veins on the shining the gold is, but the veins show up on the little flower heads. That's quite nice, and the little centre dot. So that's one thing I thought I'd show you.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you.
Because it's entirely different.
Carl's asked, can Jane do a session using the hydrangea flowers in the future? Well, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Could be a good one.
I mentioned opaque colours. I mean, a lot of people, that we love translucent watercolours. We can do graded washes and keeping that white paper showing through translucent watercolours, which is what watercolours is all about. But sometimes I use opaque colours because I just need that little bit of oomph. Same with the ink, same with the opaque colours. And that what I've just shown you've got some opaque colours on. And so as this. So this is using, some ordinary watercolours plus opaque colours. Now that's all that is very similar to what we've just done. It is a magnolia head. And then it's just the background that with the inks and the colour that the rest of the painting's painted for you, once you get used to putting the paint on and the inks and controlling them and finding out what colours really work and go together. I love pink and sepia ink, and then a pink. The pink I use is called Pink Peony, and it's a White Nights shade, and it's really, and the blue is called, I'll tell you in a moment, but I think it's called Royal Blue, even though it's this paler opaque blue, but I use them a lot now, and I love dribbling them in with a pipette into ink and creating these effects. So not actually using a brush in some parts, but that's a very simple painting, just like we're doing now. So you don't have to be a brilliant botanical painter to end up with a nice floral painting if you're good at backgrounds. Because that's the interest. As long as you're adding interest, that's what people like, and you end up with a really nice painting without doing an awful lot of drawing and masking out and photographic painting, to get things right. As long as you end up with a really nice painting, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And, so that's one with opaque colours I thought I'd show. And then this is just a normal watercolour. It's an autumn picture that I've done. Yeah, that's there's not much ink in that, actually. There's not much ink at all. So but there is a little bit of opaque colour, look, on this branch here.
Yeah.
These are sloe berries, and there's a little bit of white gouache on there to bring them out. And then the rest, really, there's a little bit of sepia ink here and there, but it's mainly watercolour, and it's quite detailed.
Yeah.
So I like you doing two things. I like to do something like this as well as some of my really looser work, and then abstract as well. Really, really loose work, but it depends what mood I'm in.
That's really lovely, and it's quite dreamy, that scene. It's the way it kind of fades into the background, and it's quite obviously the softness, but dreamy came to mind. Dreamy came to mind. No, that's really lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jane, and let us know in the chat below what took your fancy. What sort of a painter are you? How do you what sort of style do you tend to warm to?
I try to be as loose as possible, and I'd call myself a loose contemporary watercolorist
Yeah.
or mixed media artist really now.
Yeah.
But I try to be, everyone I speak to wants to be looser. And they think I'm loose. Oh, I love how you work, how it's loose. Well, I still want to be looser still, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I'm getting towards some abstracty paintings now. That I like abstract when you can still tell what it is. I don't like it when it's just a load of circles and lines and marks. You know, I need to know what it is, but in a very, very, very loose way. And that's what I'm working on for my new book as well.
Oh, good little
Yeah.
plug there. Good little
Yeah.
plug. Interesting, interesting. You heard it here first. Now, if you're watching on YouTube and you love the art that you've seen on display today, really appreciate if you could hit the thumbs up button. YouTube then recommends this show to more people and helps us with our mission to inspire more people, young and old alike as well. So thank you very much. Now, let's go back to Jane and discuss what we'll be covering in 2 weeks' time. Jane's actually going to be painting a vibrant pink poppy, building on today's theme, with a little bit more detail really in the centre and everything, and walking you through painting it step by step over 2 to 3 hours. So Jane, I'm going to share the screen. Be prepared to be wowed on the pinkness, the vibrancy. Here we go. Look at that.
Yep, there we go.
Amazing.
So the same thing again, really. It's getting your paint to do these unusual things to make our paintings different to everyone else's. I've not just put that pink paint on and left it. I've added inks and I've done some other things that I'll tell you on the day. And also I've used some opaque green there. So back to the opaque colours again that are really useful for something like that. Because if I masked every one of those stamens out there, it'd look so stiff and it just wouldn't look natural. So that's why I like to use opaque paint for stamens and things if I can, and try not to mask out. And then down here, we've used the inks, and I think that's olive green ink there, and purple lake, and then this pink paint. I can't remember what colour I use now, but it'll tell you when you look at the details on Shopkeep Artist page. And just to create a nice atmospheric, different poppy painting. I mean, it was in my garden. The picture is absolutely lovely, the photograph. It is a bright pink poppy. And I think it makes a change for someone to paint the pink ones rather than red ones all the time as well. So you can see here, we've got lost and found edges. I'll show you how to do that. You want some edges to show up positively, and then some to be wishy-washy and blend into the background more. So it's quite simple when you know how to do it. And we've got that depth in there again, the same as we have with the bindweed. You could crawl, if you're an insect, you could crawl into there, just like we can, where I'm showing you in the bindweed as well.
That looks fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that workshop. And if you do want to join Jane and I for this event, it's taking place on Thursday the 2nd of September. Are we already at September? I can't believe it. 3:30 in the afternoon UK time. You also have the option of purchasing the recording if you want, so that you can rewind and watch as many times as you want. Now, you can either book by clicking the link just here, or I'll share my screen now and I'll show you how easy it is to find our website. Also, as a patron, we've also got a special 10% discount that you can use for a limited period as well. So what you do is, as always, you visit shopkeeparty.com, click on the live events section up at the top, and then you scroll down and you'll find, there's no mistaking that poppy there. Click on the see details, and it gives you all that information just there, including the reference pictures, which obviously we'll send to you the day before the event as well, the recommended materials, and if you zoom up, you can book your webinar ticket or pre-order the video, or if you're a patron, you get 10% off. It's there. So you click on the shop if you're not a patron, and then you can either order the webinar there or order the video, pre-order the video. And if you're booking your ticket, you can either book a live ticket or the ticket and the video, and you get the video at a much more reduced price. Just add that to basket, and if you're with a different currency like dollars or euros or whatever, your bank will convert it to your local currency. Once it's happened, you can then search for the artist on our video library. You can then just watch the video if you've purchased it as many times as you want, or you can purchase it. We've got a new video library now where you can search by difficulty level, by medium, by loads of different things. So hopefully that helps. Right, so now it's time to go and rejoin Jane. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll now hear some music as the rest of this tutorial will speed up. Like the other patron special shows we broadcast, the full recordings can only be accessed by our patrons from our website video library. But anyhow, I hope you've been inspired by what you've seen, and that we'll see you at one of our upcoming live events in real time next time. So goodbye. So this brings us to the end of another great show. If you want to join Jane and I for the full workshop, remember to visit our live events section on our website. I'll now go back to Jane and I'll just read some of the comments that are coming through. So we've had Ingrid said, I love it. Debbie, that's beautiful, Jane. I'm looking forward to your Pink Poppy workshop in a couple of weeks. Karen said, fantastic as always. Thank you, Jane, for going. I'm going to have a go later with lots of different colours. Eva said, I'm so looking forward to trying this out. Thank you, Jane. Such fun. Lenny, thank you so much. Very inspiring. Bobby, fun as always. Hazel, as ever with Jane. Fantastic class. Loved it. Can't wait for the long one. Jacqueline, thank you. Great fun. Janice, fantastic as always, Jane. Thank you. Kathy, beautiful flower. Loved the lesson. Thank you. Carol, great demo, Jane. Looking forward to the full workshop. Margaret, thanks, Jane. Really enjoyed it. We'll have another go. Sandra, I want to paint just like Jane. Fawzia said, absolutely beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Jane. That's Fawzia, who we featured actually, I think last week from Bangladesh.
Oh, okay,
Annette,
thank you.
thank you, Jane and John. We'll paint this a few times. Wonderful. Judy, I must learn to paint loosely like you. I love the dreamy background and the beautiful flower. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So that was really, really lovely. Now, before we go, I'd like to mention that we're actually doing another free live art class today. In fact, in 30 minutes, live from South America. So keep those brushes wet, grab a cuppa, and I hope to see you there. So until next time, it's goodbye from me. But obviously, thank you so much yet again on our 24th show to Jane. Thank you again for all your tips and techniques. It's really fantastic.
Oh, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sure you'd enjoy the full workshop as well. And let me see your results on the Shopkeep Arty page.
Definitely. And you get a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And we'll finish on your painting. Thanks.